Battling in hip-hop has always been about bars, punchlines, and lyrical dominance, but sometimes the mic isn't the only thing that gets dropped. You already know about Tupac and Biggie, you've heard about 50 Cent and Ja Rule, and chances are you remember the drama between Cardi B and Nicki Minaj. However, today we're diving into lesser-known moments of when rap beef had real-life consequences, some you may have never even heard of, starting with number 1, T.I. versus Lil Flip. To start, we had to go back to June 19, 2004, when T.I., who was recently released from prison, hopped on stage to address Lil Flip, who he felt was coming for his King of the South title while he was locked up.
I guess it's a nigga who feel like he can come and take my crown. Hey, Lil Flip, I heard you in the house, my nigga. Tell him bring your punk ass to the stage.
And if that wasn't crazy enough, T.I. even exposed an old album by Flip, which showed him dressed up like a leprechaun on the album artwork.
Y'all remember this? Mr. Lucky Charm.
To understand how we got here, we had to go back 9 months earlier to September 2003, when a then 23-year-old T.I. was locked up for violation of probation stemming from a 1998 drug arrest. According to T.I., while he was serving time in jail, he heard that Lil Flip had been sneak dissing him, claiming that T.I. wasn't really the King of the South and that he deserved that title instead. I think T.I. was the first one to call himself the King of the South. I think he came up with it. Correct me if I'm wrong. And pretty much the moment that T.I. got released from prison, he addressed the situation, which is what I just showed you earlier, taking to the stage and calling Flip out.
Lil Flip, I heard you in the house. Bring your punk ass to the stage.
But Flip wasn't even there. He wasn't even in the building that night. However, according to Flip, his flight got delayed and he wasn't able to make it to the event, though some fans speculated he may have been dodging the confrontation altogether. But Flip was really quick. He fired back a couple days later. Right away, Flip makes it clear that he's talking to one person, and that's T.I.
Y'all know T.I. can't fuck with me. You a featherweight, you don't even weigh $150.
Flip then makes a reference to his flight being delayed on the night that T.I. was talking shit.
Nigga, you lucky my plane got delayed, cause I would've knocked your punk ass off the stage.
However, Flip would take it even further in the next line by insinuating that T.I. is a rat.
You a 7-time felon, what you care about a case? Yeah, you got out of jail early cause you working with the state snitch.
The T.I. snitch and shit, like, people have been saying that for years. That's a whole other video. Flip then proceeds to call T.I. a bitch multiple times and rebuttals the leprechaun trolling, claiming that it made him filthy rich.
You a bitch, been a bitch, still a bitch, and yeah, that leprechaun too got me filthy rich.
This was pretty big at the time. Like, I was 15, I think. I remember most of it. According to T.I., this whole thing started over the King of the South moniker, while Flip claimed it was over him declining T.I. for a feature on his Game Over remix, which was something he also mentioned in that freestyle.
Trying to get on the Game Over remix, but I told you no, I only do tracks with niggas that I think dope.
Either way, Tip wasn't gonna let this slide, and when he linked with DJ Drama for the Gangsta Grillz mixtape, he dissed Flip directly on a number of tracks, including the track Welcome Back.
Got a message for the nigga who attacking the throne. You gon' make me put this heater to the back of your dome. Flip.
So right out the gate, T.I. lets it be known that this message was for Flip, the guy who was attacking the throne.
Kill the last from the front to the back of your home. Any idiot can see you should've left me alone.
T.I. name drops Flip here and dishes out a double entendre, playing off the word flip, meaning he's literally gonna flip him on his head.
Cause they know the game over when I catch you alone. Flip, I'ma show you by addressing me wrong.
T.I. dishes out a threat to Lil Flip, more or less saying that it's on sight as soon as he sees him. We also get another double entendre where he's referencing the Game Over track by Flip, while also claiming that it's game over the moment that he sees him. Then it was on that exact same tape he had a different record, 99 Problems, Flip Ain't One. On this track, T.I. goes as far to call Lil Flip out by his government name, Wesley.
Like a pussy nigga named Lil Wesley trying to test me on your best behavior with your faggot ass bestie.
He also digged up some info about Flip, that he used to have a job as a janitor.
Nigga, why you a janitor in high school, you sucker ass nigga? Thought we forgot.
Tip also said this on an old DVD.
I was a janitor in high school.
And this back and forth went on for months to follow. This is just a very brief overview, but when T.I. went on tour to promote his album Urban Legend, that's when shit really hit the fan. Up until this point, everything stayed on wax. During the tour, he made a stop in Houston, Texas, which, if you didn't know, is Lil Flip's hometown, and while he was there, T.I. decided to pull up to Flip's own neighborhood, Cloverland. When he got there, a fight broke out, and unsurprisingly, both Flip and T.I. have different versions of the story. According to T.I., when he pulled up, he spotted Lil Flip, who immediately tried to hide behind a car. T.I. then chased after him, but before he could reach him, one of Flip's crew members blindsided him and hit him in the back of the head, sparking an all-out brawl. In the middle of the chaos, a gun was fired into the air, which caused the fight to break up, and everyone scattered, running back to their cars to get out of there. Flip's side of the story was similar, but a little bit different. The only difference in Flip's story is that he denied hiding behind the car and claimed that T.I. got more of a beating than he wanted to admit. Not long after the situation turned physical, Jay Prince, the CEO of Rap-A-Lot Records and a major power player in Houston hip-hop, stepped in and brought both T.I. and Lil Flip into a room in an effort to squash the beef.
Okay, so Jay Prince was the one that kind of reached out to the both of y'all and basically said, y'all need to work it out?
Right.
And just like that, with the influence of Jay Prince, the beef was over, and while Flip and T.I.'s beef got physical, Joe Budden and Raekwon's beef wasn't any different. We have to fast forward to August 9th, 2009, when Joe Budden TV posted this video to his blog.
It wasn't my eye. It was like the side of my eye or some shit.
In the video, Joe can be seen icing up his face, which seemed to be swollen. According to him, Raekwon from Wu-Tang Clan, along with his goons, outnumbered Joe and tried to force him to apologize for some comments that he made about Method Man. When Joe refused to apologize, someone from Raekwon's crew snuck him, hitting him in the shoulder and the face, leaving Joe's face swollen. Now, if you're not familiar with this story, you're probably wondering what happened. Well, it all started earlier in the year when Vibe magazine put out a bracket trying to figure out who was the best hip-hop artist alive. Joe Budden didn't like his ranking on the list, and he gave his comments on it. Joe basically went down through the list of rappers and named which ones he thought he should be ranked higher than.
These niggas is whack on this list, son.
Okay, just point out who you don't agree with the numbers.
I'm better than most of the niggas that on this list. This list is about rapping. MC Hammer is 17.
You agree with that?
No.
Juvenile at 8?
Juvenile, no. Project Pat, no. Too Short is 6.
Joe even claimed that he was better than at least 50 other rappers on the list and challenged any of them to prove him wrong.
So any of you niggas that's seeing this and have seen this and think that what I'm saying is wrong, I would love for you to prove it. Because I think I rap better than most of you niggas. Actually, I don't think, I'm sure of it.
During this rant, he also brought up Method Man, who was ranked number 9 on the list, and Joe basically said if they were face-to-face rapping, he would mop the floor with Method Man.
Love Method Man to death. He's number 9. You mean to tell me if Method Man was standing in front of my face right this second and we had to rap back and forth, that Method Man would be the victor against me?
Fans at the time were split, with some saying that Joe was correct and that he would wash Method Man, while others claimed Joe was wrong and that Method Man would absolutely dominate. They've been doing this shit for decades, and you guys fall for it. Like, these lists are deliberately made to farm engagement, get a rise out of people. That's why they do it. Either way, Method Man himself even responded saying Joe was straight disrespecting him, also saying he wants to see him face to face.
He can say that all he want. He can put whatever spin he want to put on it. That was straight disrespect, period. He ain't got no respect for me. Son need to up his dosage on his medication and come see me face to face.
He also went on to say that Joe Budden wouldn't have said any of this shit to his face, and he only felt comfortable because he was speaking into a camera phone.
But over a phone and all that, yeah, dudes talk greasy all day, but in a man's face, you ain't gonna say certain stuff like that. I would love for him to say or chop my head off face to face. I would love for him to say that.
With all that said, when Joe was asked about Method Man's comments, he only doubled down.
I'm saying, how you gonna say no disrespect to Method Man and say that dumb shit? I rap better than niggas.
Given the fact that Wu-Tang is a tight-knit group, it was Inspector Deck who decided to go at Joe Budden with a full-length diss track.
Man, really, name me 3 Joe Budden songs. Don't worry, I got time, I'll cut the song.
He then went into a Jeopardy skit where the question was, name 3 Joe Budden songs.
Oh man, 3 Joe Budden songs. Damn, Pumpin' what up?
Joe claimed years later that he did have a record in the stash that he didn't put out, which for Joe Budden was highly unusual. Not sure why he didn't drop it.
So how many discs you got just in the tuck?
I wrote a long letter to Inspector Deck that just never went out.
I'm so glad that didn't happen.
Me too, but it was masterful.
As we all know, hip-hop is a pretty tight-knit world, and even tighter when you're both repping the same coast. So it was only a matter of time before these two crossed paths. And that moment would come in Long Island, New York. According to Method Man, someone told him that Joe Budden wanted to talk, and at that point, Meth admitted himself he was ready to smack Joe on the spot, but ultimately decided to hold back and not let things get physical.
Joe, you don't notice. The whole time you was talking, I was gonna snuff you. The reason why I didn't in that moment was because you said some real shit.
Allegedly, Method Man explained to Joe that they were now good, but if Joe continued to act out of pocket, everything was out of his hands.
But I'm telling you, after this moment, if there's any more bullshit, my hands is tied.
Despite Method Man thinking that they had cleared things up with that conversation, Joe continued to take shots, still speaking negatively about Wu-Tang, which only reignited the tension. It was on that exact same day where Joe did an interview where he dissed Inspector Deck. In the interview, Joe basically said that Inspector Deck is washed. He called him washed pretty much. However, the whole thing would really bubble over at the Rock the Bells Hip Hop Festival in LA. Set to perform that day was Nas, The Roots, Common, plus a bunch of other rappers and rap groups, including Slaughterhouse, which Joe was a part of. Little did he know, this was gonna turn out bad for him. Joe was backstage in his dressing room chilling with Mickey Fax when out of nowhere, Raekwon and a crew of about 6 men stormed in. They demanded that Joe apologize for his comments about Wu-Tang, and when he refused, Hans, a member of Raekwon's entourage, sucker punched Joe, catching him completely off guard. Then the very next day, Joe posted this blog.
It wasn't my eye. It was like the side of my eye or some shit.
Then a little later, we got Raekwon's side of the story.
It was masterminded. You know what I mean? He was off. Sometimes you could be off. You know what I mean? But I ain't gonna get into the graphics about how he was. He know how he was.
Okay. Other than that, Raekwon hasn't really said much about this incident, and anytime he's asked about it, he downplays it. There are a few different versions of what happened, including one from the man who actually punched Joe himself, Hans.
You could have dropped Joe Buttons off in my projects from a helicopter and somebody would have got him for talking about meth, Ray, or Dead.
Okay.
When asked if it was a sucker punch that he threw at Joe, Hans said that he didn't think so.
Some also would describe this punch as a sucker punch. Was this a sucker punch?
I don't think it was a sucker punch.
How is that not a sucker punch? You're mid-conversation, talking to a bunch of people, and then one dude just clocks you? That's a sucker punch. Then we got Mickey Fax, who was with Joe Budden at the time, and he claimed when Raekwon and his guys walked in, they were very calm, talking to Joe, basically asking him to apologize. And when Joe told them that he already apologized to Method Man directly and didn't feel like he should have to do it again, that's when he heard a loud thud.
Next thing you know, that's all, you hear a thud. It was like a thud. And it was like a doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
And this footage does appear to be real, because when Joe Budden was beefing with Gilly the Kid, which I got a great video on that, by the way, Gilly claimed to have seen the footage.
I seen the tape. Now you keep talking shit, nigga. In the next episode, I'm putting it the fuck out. A nigga punched you in your fucking face. You fell on the floor and screamed, "My eye! My eye!"
After everything went down, Joe Budden claimed that Raekwon's camp reached out and tried to squash the beef, but at that point, Joe said it was too late.
Niggas from that camp over there, from at Raekwon Ice Waters camp, wanted to know what they could do to resolve this situation. And there's really no resolving the situation because I got hit in the face.
Raekwon was allegedly running his mouth about the whole thing, and Joe said the only way to solve it was to square up and have a fair fight.
That this whole situation can go away with a square dance. Square dance is when two niggas square up. It's a square off. Nobody gotta know. You take a little walk around the corner, you go lock yourself in a room, and just whoever comes out, right?
According to Joe, Raekwon didn't want to square up with him and was basically ducking the fight.
Nigga told us that he ain't want a square dance. He ain't had a square dance in 30 years.
Raekwon responded to these comments during an interview with Charlemagne where he said enough is enough, expressing that he wanted to move past it and focus on his family and work. Eventually, Method Man and Joe did patch things up, officially putting an end to the beef. While Joe Budden's beef with Wu-Tang Clan fizzled out pretty quickly, this next beef is still ongoing and doesn't show any signs of slowing down. I'm talking about Benny the Butcher and Freddie Gibbs. The beef between Freddie Gibbs and Benny the Butcher eventually escalated into a full-blown brawl, a clash that reportedly involved one of the rapper's girlfriends and even ended with Gibbs' chain being snatched during the scuffle. Believe it or not, the two men were close collaborators at one point, but by the end of 2021, something caused this relationship to sour. To understand how we got here, we need to take a trip back to 2021 when Benny the Butcher was shot in the leg after an attempted robbery. This took place outside of Walmart in Houston, Texas, where Benny went to buy a couple items. When he hopped out of his Rolls Royce, a group of men walked up and demanded all of his jewelry. As he was running away, someone from the group shot and hit Benny in the leg. Apparently, Freddie Gibbs took to Twitter to joke about what happened to Benny. A bunch of people said that he did make these tweets, but they're not out there. I can't find them. This surprised Benny because he thought he was cool with Freddie, so in the beginning he just kept it quiet and didn't say anything about it. However, as time went on, Benny got sick and tired of the comments and hearing all about it.
You did something wrong, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't do that shit. My mom could have lost her son. Nigga making light on that for some white kids on Twitter, some suburban kids on Twitter who ain't gonna do nothing, never did nothing.
According to Benny, the tension began when he told Freddie Gibbs he wasn't interested in doing a collab project, feeling like their time had already passed, and apparently Freddie didn't take this well, and that's what sparked the fallout between them.
You got a nigga laughing about that or making a joke about it. Right. Somebody who we said we was cool, we told the world we was cool. Yeah, that gotta be handled a certain way.
Instead of responding in the booth, Benny made it clear he wanted to handle things face to face, and that's exactly what went down in May of 2022 when Freddie Gibbs was scheduled to perform in Buffalo, Benny's hometown. Before the show that night, Freddie stopped by Dinosaur Barbecue on Franklin Street to grab a bite to eat, and that's when things took a turn. While he was at the restaurant, some of Benny's associates showed up and immediately started to jump Freddie, who you could see is right here in the green shirt. During the beatdown, you can also see Gibbs being dragged by his chain while he holds onto it for dear life. Regardless of what happened, even with a noticeably swollen face, Freddie Gibbs still showed up that night in Buffalo and performed for the people. When you get jumped, speaking from experience, you can't do much but turtle and just weather the storm. That's all you could do. Freddie's then girlfriend, Destiny Fox, gave her account of the incident, saying that Freddie asked her to go for a bite to eat and told her to put her jewelry on.
He was so adamant about me putting my jewelry on. So whatever, I did it, and we walked to the barbecue spot.
While on the way there, she said she could hear Freddie's name being whispered, although nobody was coming up to them.
This was like, I could hear his name being whispered and no one was coming up to us.
This caused her to ask Freddie if he felt safe, to which he said he felt safe anywhere.
I looked at him and I said, do you feel safe? And he goes, I feel safe anywhere. And me, I'm like, all right. Like, I'm safe anywhere. Like, I'm not worried about nothing because my man just told me we're safe anywhere.
Once they got to the barbecue spot, Freddie said he wanted to eat outside, to which she agreed because according to her, up until this point, Freddie never put her in harm's way. After taking a bite of her brisket, she would see Benny the Butcher and his goons.
Freddie's to my left. I'm eating my brisket. I look up and like Benny and like 15 dudes are cutting the corner.
According to her, Freddie tried to explain that he was eating with his girl and this really wasn't the right time. He didn't want any smoke. Benny and his goons were not trying to hear it.
Freddie's like, yo, I got my girl here. I don't want to do this right now. It's almost like he had me there to say that.
Scapegoat.
Moments later, she got her chain snatched, and when she looked over towards Freddie, he was getting dragged by his chain.
And I just see Freddie getting drugged by his chain and like blood pouring out of his head.
Ultimately, Benny's crew took Freddie's Rolex, his girl's chain, They weren't able to get Freddie's bunny chain because, like I said before, he was holding on to it for dear life.
He was holding on to his his rabbit charm. He was holding on to that shit for dear life because he opened his hand up and his hand was cut open.
That's the trophy.
Like from that
That's
fucking
the trophy, right?
The video of Freddie getting jumped started to make its rounds on Twitter after one fan posted it with the caption, "I just saw Freddie Gibbs get beat up and his chain took while I was eating in Buffalo, New York." Freddie would respond to this in a leaked text message where he said, 20 people deep and this is all they did? Couldn't even take my shit? Tell them to come harder next time. This prompted Beanie to make a series of posts taunting Freddie, calling him MC Dinosaur Barbecue, and you can even see that he's wearing the chain that he took from Freddie's girl.
Hey yo, MC Dinosaur Barbecue, that's what got your head punched in the first time. Talk about shit you ain't had nothing to do with. Real shit. Niggas dragged you by your chain, dragged you by your shit. Niggas took this off your bitch neck. You pussy, nigga. MC Dinosaur Barbecue, you been getting ran down on by niggas for the past year. Without a gun. You a bitch. MC Dinosaur Barbecue. Niggas punched your head all in, had you fucking lumped up, stitches all in your shit. For running your mouth like you doing now.
And Beanie never does this type of shit. Like, if you follow him, you'd know that he doesn't do these internet games. This is pretty rare. If this wasn't bad enough, a year later, Benny the Butcher trolled Freddie by linking up with his baby mother, Destiny, retweeting a photo of the two of them with the caption, "Chillin' like a villain." Freddie Gibbs then responded to this photo on his Instagram story, saying at least he still has 2 good legs.
Oh shit, what's that? 2 good feet, still working, nigga. Hey, I might run a mile, bitch. Oh shit, you see my foot? Oh shit.
An obvious reference to Benny being shot in the leg. Benny would also link with her again, different occasion, where you could see him putting his chain around her neck. Shortly after, Benny even posted a photo of Freddie's baby mama giving someone head, and fans later shared this to Reddit. I don't think this is a flex because his girl, she was a porn star. Like, that's kind of in the job description. One fan commented on the post and he summed it up pretty nicely, claiming this was the worst case scenario, as now we weren't going to get any more collabs or even diss tracks. Now, that's not exactly true because there were subliminals that went back and forth. In fact, I think eventually we will see a back and forth between Freddie and Benny. I think it's only a matter of time. However, this next beef started with music, but things got serious fast. It escalated into a backstage fight between 2 crews at the BET Awards. What started as just lyrics turned into a real-life confrontation. I'm talking about Rick Ross and Jeezy, or Young Jeezy at the time. The origins of the feud trace back to the late 2000s, allegedly stemming over pride and industry politics. Both Ross and Jeezy were Southern rap titans, Rick Ross hailing from Miami, while Young Jeezy repped Atlanta. Jeezy was also very closely associated with BMF, the $300 million drug organization ran by Big Meech, who was eventually arrested in 2005 and later sentenced to 30 years in prison. Big Meech is actually out of prison right now, which is a whole other story again. Big Meech's connection to Jeezy stems all the way back to 2003, when Jeezy was just an up-and-coming rapper, and Meech was already a well-known figure in the United States. According to the Miami News Times, Big Meech would promote Jeezy's music at strip clubs and parties in Atlanta. Apparently, Meech even supplied fancy cars and jewelry for Jeezy's music videos. Obviously, after doing all that for Jeezy, he's gonna be loyal to BMF. However, now enters Rick Ross, who in 2010 dropped the track Blowin' Money Fast, or BMF, where in the beginning of the song, Ross said the following.
I think I'm Big Meech, Larry Hoover.
These lyrics caused a ton of drama for Rick Ross, mainly because Big Meech and Larry Hoover were real street guys, while Ross, on the other hand, was an interpretation of the real freeway Rick Ross. 3 of those guys lived the life that Ross raps about pretty much, and they all paid the price. All went to prison. In response to this, Jeezy dropped the track Death Before Dishonor, which was a freestyle made over the BMF beat, which Rick Ross used. He started the track off by flipping Ross's lyrics.
On top of Big Meech, Larry Hoover.
However, about a minute into the track, he sent a more obvious shot.
How you blowing money fast? You don't know the crew. Oh, you part of the fam? Shit, I never knew.
So he's saying, like, you don't know these guys, bro. That's all cap. You don't know them. And Jeezy would only continue to levy more personal attacks.
Goddamn, you got the massive titties. Might as well roll with me, the Magic City.
An obvious fat joke, which seems to be mandatory if you're dissing Rick Ross. When asked about the obvious diss, Ross told Sirius XM it's all about who makes the best music, before admitting that he didn't feel as though Jeezy's freestyle was an attack on him, which was also bullshit. Like, it's clearly about you. Ross also went on to say, Jeezy got my number, he knows where I'm at, we blowing money fast over here. But Ross would eventually completely change his tune. Not long after he made those comments, Rick Ross dropped his track, The Summer's Mine, and this was a diss intended for Jeezy.
Bitch, I run the South, I'm what you wanna be. This how you wanna live, it's what you wanna drive. Be honest with yourself, I'm who you idolize.
Ross goes crazy on this too, and so did Jeezy. Like, this was another era in itself.
Self-made, you just affiliated. Really a water boy, nigga, you entertainment.
So he's saying, like, Jeezy, you were a water boy, bro. Like, you were nobody. A couple months after the track came out, footage would surface online which showed Jeezy and about 100 goons walking the streets of Miami looking for Rick Ross.
Jeezy, where your favorite rapper at? I don't see that nigga. I'm in the streets, nigga. Look behind him.
About a week later, Ross appeared on the Tim Westwood show, where he mentions that he saw the video and that Jeezy played himself. Trap, coke rappers, like, they're willing to go to great lengths to prove their image, right? In December of 2010, Ross had an interview with Source magazine where they asked him if a phone call between him and Jeezy took place. Nah, that hasn't happened. It's nothing I'm looking forward to. In 2011, things really seemed to die down. In 2012, shit really hit the fan at the BET Hip Hop Awards. A day that was supposed to celebrate the best in hip hop became overshadowed by the beef that was going on backstage. Funkmaster Flex, who was on the scene, started tweeting up a storm. 7:12 p.m. Jeezy and Rick Ross had words backstage, and pushing and shoving had taken place. 2 minutes later, the beef spread to the parking lot. 4 minutes later, shots were fired in the parking lot, with the gunman getting arrested. I don't know what Funk Flex heard, but the police claimed that there were no gunshots. Either way, the Civic Center in Atlanta was locked down that night, and the police were called in. In an interview with Big Boy, Jeezy would speak on the incident, explaining his side of the story.
Man, so was anyone touched that day?
But I assure you, I can't speak for everybody.
Right.
But ain't nobody put no hands on me.
I heard that.
Yeah. So I mean, I can't say that for everybody involved.
Right.
But ain't nobody touched me.
After this incident, things pretty much stayed quiet, and the beef officially came to an end about 4 years later when Ross dropped the track War Ready, which featured Jeezy. When speaking about the track, Ross said the moment at BET Awards was tense, but they figured it out.
You know, at the end of the day, it was never any bloodshed or any money loss between us. So to a real boss, anything other than that is small talk. You know what I'm saying?
While both rappers came out of this beef pretty much unscathed, the same can't be said for one of the rappers in the next story. This time we got a couple female MCs. This takes us to April 23rd, 2005 in Miami, Florida, when rappers Foxy Brown and Jacki-O got into a full-blown fight, or in Jackie's words, a one-sided beatdown in the studio.
Ho, you know I whooped your ass, I put feet on you, bitch, and I do it again, ho. Come your ass back to 305 with that bullshit.
Apparently, when Foxy Brown walked into the studio, Jacki-O didn't acknowledge her, and that rubbed Foxy the wrong way. According to Jacki-O, that's when Foxy launched into a rant about the new generation of female rappers, claiming that this is the kind of attitude and exactly what's wrong with them.
I'm Fox motherfucking Boogie. That's what's wrong with y'all new hoes. Y'all hoes gotta pay homage. Y'all hoes gotta show some respect.
According to a source at Hip Hop DX, when Foxy Brown entered the studio, she became upset that she wasn't greeted in the way that she would normally get greeted, and this led Foxy wanting Jacki-O to be taken off the track that she was supposed to be featured on. Foxy was feeling, disrespected. Then when Foxy stepped outside of the studio, she started ranting and raving about Jacki in clear earshot of her. When she came back in, the two sat down one-on-one to clear the air. Foxy started off with, "Do you know who I am?" When someone usually says, like, "Do you know who I am?" it's pretty corny, but in this case, it's Foxy Brown. Like, she is somebody. Eventually, words exchanged, a fight ensued, and Foxy was taken off the premises. When speaking on the incident, Jacki-O said, "This was not the way I wanted this to go down." Jacki also mentioned that she was looking forward to collaborating with Foxy, saying that two women in hip-hop should be able to come together and make something powerful, but after the disrespect, she claimed Foxy left her no choice. However, according to Foxy Brown, the fight never happened at all, and Jacki was making the whole thing up. Which is honestly pretty smart because this wasn't caught on camera. Jacki-O would eventually drop a full-blown diss track against Foxy Brown titled TKO. She even brought up Foxy Brown and the case of ghostwriters.
How you got another deal when your lyrics ain't real? Whoever ghostwriting need to help you write your will.
One of the better bars is when she brings up Lil Kim.
You walk around frustrated, cause you ain't Kim.
After the release of the track, the beef pretty much ended, only really lasting about 2 months. I'm only showing you guys a few bars, but this diss track is ranked like pretty high in the realm of female diss tracks. Sometimes the most unexpected rappers can actually be the most violent, which is exactly what happened between Russ and Smokepurpp. It all started after Russ spoke out about his dislike for mumble rappers, especially their promotion of pills and lean. At one point, he even made t-shirts that said, "How many Xans and lean do you have to do before you realize you're a fucking loser?" Pretty surface level take from Russ. Like, I've been through enough therapy to tell you that drug use is 99% of the time tied to trauma or mental health issues. The timing of this offended a ton of fans and rappers who were a part of the new generation of mumble rappers. It was only 1 month after Russ unveiled his new t-shirt when rapper Lil Peep died from an overdose. I was really sad when he passed away. I was a big fan of him. I think what he was doing was like so unique and like different. Like I thought he was dope. A few days after Peep died, Russ doubled down on his stance during a Twitter rant where he said, "Abusing Xanax and other pills, drugs in private because of depression or mental health issues is one thing, although it's still not good. Constantly recording yourself doing drugs and putting up pics and videos is when you start choosing to publicly glorify it and make it an image." That's actually a pretty solid point. Kind of voids what I said earlier. And Smokepurpp took issue with Russ and fired back, calling him a bitch and telling him to shut up on Twitter. He felt Russ was wrong for trying to make an example out of a man who just died a few days prior. And that's valid. I mean, it is not good timing. It was pretty disrespectful. I remember when this happened, fans sided with Smokepurpp because although what Russ was saying was facts, using Lil Peep's death to prove his point made it feel wrong. Shortly after this exchange, Smokepurpp changed his profile picture to a picture of Russ's little sister. This obviously made Russ feel a type of way, so when he ran into Smokepurpp in Germany, he had his security guards put the beats on Smokepurpp. This incident left Smokepurpp with a black eye. If he bothered you that much, you should go do it yourself. Like getting your security to do it, to me, that is not a flex. Then the very next day, both rappers were booked for Wireless Fest in London, where Russ taunted Smokepurpp, asking him if he was done talking.
Are you done talking?
After all that, Russ went on a bunch of interviews where he dissed Smokepurpp. During an interview with The Breakfast Club, Russ explained why his rap peers don't like him.
That this is right.
So your peers don't like you because you're the person that comes in the party and calls them all drug addicts.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I'll be there.
You're
like
the fun killer.
He also said that rappers getting beat up is the reason why they stopped talking about him.
I put it in my music, but also when we see you, you can't be surprised if you get beat. You feel me? Because I'm not gonna talk to you about it. I'm not gonna put online like, yo, I'm gonna see you at the festival. But rappers know, you know what I'm saying? Like certain rappers know. Y'all seen us at festivals. and y'all get beat up, and that's why y'all don't talk anymore. You know what I'm saying?
The beef pretty much ended here, with neither really speaking on it much again. Crazy enough, Smokepurpp wasn't the only victim, because a year later, Russ sucker punched rapper Guapdad, which led to a brawl between the two camps. This apparently stemmed from a lyric in Guapdad's song, Prada Process, where he rapped,
"You doing right, but we don't care, we call that doing Russ."
According to Guapdad, he wasn't trying to diss Russ in the track, and even apparently DM'd him to let him know about the bar.
I was so mad at the fact that not only did I, in my mind, not diss him, I never was trying to diss him. I told him about it. I DM'd him beforehand.
Apparently, Russ left him on red and just decided to catch him in person. According to Guapdad, this attack was planned because Russ was at the event hours before he was even set to take the stage.
There's no way you planned that, because he was the headliner of that festival, and he planned to see me and have me jump because he was there early. I was one of the openers.
Russ also spoke on the situation and gave his side of what happened.
You mentioned my name in a questionably negative, stupid light in your song for no reason. Because like I said, we don't have any interaction.
Right.
So at that point, whatever happens after that is on you.
Either way, one thing's for sure, if you're gonna talk shit about Russ publicly, it looks like you're gonna have to be ready to deal with him and his goons as well. I've heard a few stories about Russ behind the scenes doing the exact same shit, a couple stories. The final beef is a situation of when idols turn into rivals and ends with one rapper actually getting knocked out. Both from Philly, Meek looked up to Beanie and they eventually collaborated on multiple songs. To understand how the fallout happened, we need to go back to September 2016 when Meek Mill was beefing with The Game. In response to a diss track by Game, Meek Mill and Beanie Sigel dropped the Ooh remix, which was a diss aimed towards Game. This track also featured O'Malley, which is Meek Mill's cousin. When later speaking on the diss track, Beanie Sigel said that he ghost wrote for Meek Mill and O'Malley. Fans thought this made Meek feel a type of way because at the Philly stop of the Bad Boy reunion tour, Beanie Sigel was assaulted and video was released showing him laid on the ground while the guy who beat him up attempts to flee the police. The guy who did this to Beanie Sigel is Tiffy Bay, who is actually related to Meek Mill through marriage. According to Tiffy, Beanie Sigel was a backstabber that backdoored Meek Mill by giving information to The Game, and that it wasn't about the ghostwriting allegations.
Then he backdoor niggas with Game in them, telling niggas information that only the camp know.
Game's manager Wack 100 would also respond, saying that the beef with Game was all Meek Mill's fault.
Beans ain't told me shit about nothing. Now, if we pay attention to where this problem come from, it all go back to your man Meek.
I don't know, man. Like, The Game finds someone, he conveniently finds someone to beef with every time he drops an album. A few days after the incident, Beanie appeared on Taxstone's podcast where he doubled down on the ghostwriting claims. He said that he wrote most of O'Malley's verse, standing very firm on his earlier accusation.
I didn't write O'Malley's first verse. I didn't write all of his second verse, but the majority of it. That's facts. Niggas is playing games, lying and saying I ain't write that shit. Stand up for the other brothers that was in the room who know that.
Around this time, The Game dropped his music video for Pest Control, which was a diss to Meek Mill and his camp, and the video featured a different angle of Beanie Sigel getting knocked out. On September 30th, Meek Mill would do a freestyle for Funk Flex, and he dissed 50 Cent, Drake, and Beanie Sigel. When rapping about Beanie, Meek said, "Speaking on the Chasers, that's when we get busy," a reference to Beanie being knocked out by Tiffy. And a month later, on October 16th, Beanie Sigel dropped his track I'm Comin', which was a direct diss track to Meek Mill.
Somebody got to die, either this guy.
I would say he was pretty pissed off. Apparently, Beanie was there with his wife and kids when they knocked him out.
Homicide for purchase, but I think I might work this.
He also had a shot for Tiffy Bay.
Nigga, you weak for real. You did that for Meek. You should have did it for Mills.
And it was just the very next day where Beanie dropped another diss aimed at Meek, titled Good Night, and Meek never responded to this, probably because he realized he had more to lose and less to gain in the situation. Later, Beanie sat down with the Breakfast Club, and Charlamagne opened up the show, telling Beanie Sigel that the back-to-back diss tracks made him seem like a hater.
Questioning you with your diss records, man. You sounding like a hater lately, man.
A hater?
Yeah.
How you say that? A hater?
Cause I feel like, you put out 2 diss records, but then you was in the studio with Meek like 8 days prior to the first diss record. And I'm like, if anybody else did that, I think you'd be saying that was a sucker move. That's kind of sneaky.
I don't think you qualified to even say I sound like a hater because you don't know all the particulars. So how you qualified to say I'm a hater? Hate on what?
Well,
and why?
I'm just telling you based on
why do you say I'm a hater?
Because, everything is that used to be me and I used to be in that position.
This made the interview noticeably tense.
You ain't qualified to ask me that question. You ain't qualified to get that answer, bro.
At one point, Beanie again said that he wrote for both Meek and O'Malley. That's when Charlamagne said that Beanie's story didn't make sense, and that made Beanie very upset.
I mean, this the whole situation seems shaky. I know you say I'm not qualified to speak on it. I'm just observing it, but it just seemed like, loyalty with you lies with who's providing you opportunity at the time.
Man, get the out of here, Charlamagne, man. Provide me, what loyalty, with who? He ain't provide me no opportunity. He ain't called me and asked me to do that. I did that.
Later in the interview, he completely crashed out on Charlamagne, saying he doesn't understand him because he's not cut from the same cloth.
You understand what I'm saying?
Now, for people that don't know,
how you don't understand? Because you know why? Because you not from that cloth.
Well, that's cool. I don't get
you not. That's why you don't understand that.
And that wasn't even close to the worst part of the interview, because just moments later, Charlamagne and Beanie got into a crazy exchange.
Why I'm here then? Because I think you're a sucker. So I should be out, right?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, that's me personally. I wouldn't sit there and have a conversation with a sucker.
Yeah, you'll sit here and you'll bash a little girl, a little mama till she cry. That's what you do. You say, I think you're a bitch. You let Fredro Starr and them check you, but you made that little girl cry.
This type of energy continued throughout the entire interview, and this interview went crazy viral at almost 8 million views at the time of writing this. Meek Mill responded on Instagram saying, "Never gossip in interviews. Leave that to them biter dudes." Meek never responded, so I don't know what their status is today. Hopefully they patched it up. They're both from Philly. It sucks to see Beanie Sigel get knocked out. That shouldn't happen, really. And that's all I've got for today, but if you guys know of any other rap beefs that are more rare, that haven't been covered a million times, leave it in the comments and maybe we can do a round 2. I don't want to do any gang shit. I don't want to do anyone getting killed. If a rapper gets knocked out or punched or there's a scuffle, I don't have an issue covering it. As long as there's music involved in the beef, then we can do it. But like I said, no gang stuff.
That's a traffic in charge. Ain't no cars in here, nigga. This a trapping garage. It ain't no studio in here, but this a rapping garage. Rapping bricks and pounds. I never trap in the dark. I never trap in the Dodge. Man,